Just going to wait for some comments to appear. Hi, Stuart. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, everyone. My voice is a bit croaky tonight, so you'll have to excuse that. Hope you can hear me. Just to say, I don't feel like I've done one of these lives at home for a while now. I've obviously done a live out on the streets. So I wanted to update you tonight, again, on our boys' case, Justice for Our Boys. Because a lot of the stuff we do involving our boys' case is behind closed doors. Hi, Donna, Sally, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Most of the lives I do, you know, you see me out on the streets as a yellow vest, standing up for the people, the children and the country, as all the other brave yellow vests do as well that are out there with me. But behind closed doors is where we fight for our boys. Now, one of the last live feeds I did, just to say hello to everyone again, thank you. Hi Dave, yes, morning, I always do them late. One of the last live feeds I did was informing you all, and I know you've heard me say it on a live as well, when I've been on the streets, regarding the letter that went to the Attorney General on the 1st of August last year, with 4 points for a retrial, and each point on their own a retrial. And I'm just going to recap. I read 3 of the points on another live feed, and I didn't read the 4th point, which for now I still have to save. But believe me, sometime this year, you will hear what that 4th point was. I just want to recap again this line here from the MP at the time, which was Nick Hurd, and Nick Hurd at the time was the Minister for the Police. And in here, he finishes this letter with, however, my reading of the original collision report and my viewing of the admittedly limited CCTV shown to me does raise doubts in my mind. Now that's the MP himself telling the Attorney General, from some of the evidence that he has seen that we showed him, raised doubts in his mind as well. And he implored and asked the Attorney General to have a meeting with us families. Well, still to date, the Attorney General never, ever replied to that letter. Never replied. We now have a new Attorney General, which I have emailed, with the attached letter to it. So I'm going to wait a response from the new Attorney General and see if she does her job. I doubt it, but we can live in hope, can't we? Well, anyway, December, there was general elections. As you know, I stood in the election. I stood for MP. And again, I thank all the people who put their trust in me and voted for me and who wanted change, because voting for me was change. So well done on those people, because for me, your votes were for you. I'm sorry we didn't get there. I really am, but change can still come. Now, what I did was, on the night of the election, we had this letter with us. And when David Simmons, who ran in my constituency where I live, who I stood against, won the election, we showed him this letter. So David Simmons, who stood for Ruislip, Northwood and Pinner and Harefield and Ickenham and Eastcote, saw this letter on the night of the election after he won it. So I thought what I'll do is wait a few weeks and see if he gets in touch with me after reading such an important letter about 3 children who have been murdered and their murders covered up. So by the 28th of January, I never heard from him at all. Never heard. Thank you for everyone who's joining now and saying hello. Thank you, everyone. I never heard from him. So on the 28th of January, I sent an email just to show you it's the 28th. I know it's backwards, I'm sorry. It's backwards. Right, so on the 28th, I sent a letter to David Simmons, MP, my MP, and it said this in my email. Dear Mr. Simmons, I would like to request a meeting with you at the earliest opportunity, please, as I am one of your constituents, although he already knows that. I have had many meetings with Nick Hurd before he stood down, and the outcome of these meetings was never resolved. Therefore, as my MP, I would like to meet with you as soon as possible so we can discuss a way forward to progress in our fight for justice for our children. I am aware, on election night, you were passed a letter that your predecessor sent to the Attorney General on the 1st of August 2019. Please see attached. So I attached the letter again. Although you may not be familiar with the details surrounding this miscarriage of justice, I must make it clear to you that we have extremely damaging, hard evidence which both the Metropolitan Police and the CPS are aware of. Please could you ensure a reply as a matter of urgency. Now that was sent to David Simmons, our MP, on the 28th of January. Up until yesterday, hang on, we're the next day, so not yesterday, the day before, whatever, the 25th. The 25th of February, I had not had a reply. No reply. See, this is what they do. They ignore you, or they think they can. So yesterday, I sent loads of emails, one to Boris Johnson, another one to the MP, and I gave him a limited time to respond. And I said to Boris, you need to get your MPs to respond. Boris is well aware of our boys. He is, I'll say it again for anyone who doesn't know, he is the MP to Harry's parents. He has seen part of the evidence and he has done nothing as well. So today, I get an email with that attached from David Simmons. And most of the email is utter rubbish. So I'm just going to pick bits out of this just to show you what we have to suffer as families, and not just us. This goes on to many families. I know another family, you know, that came to the Attorney General's with us that day that were getting nowhere, where their son was murdered, you know, where they're getting nowhere. So I just want to read you these couple of bits. So, he says this: on the basis of the information I have received from you and my predecessor's office, I appreciate that your principal assertion is that there has been a miscarriage of justice in relation to sentencing. Now, we've not said it's the sentencing. We've said all along it's a miscarriage of justice because he is not on the right charge. They gave him a diluted charge of death by dangerous driving when it was 3 times murder and 2 attempted murder, because he never lost control of the car. He was never charged with drink driving. Wait till you hear what the 4th one was in the other letter. That will be out this year. He puts this: I must advise that I cannot provide any additional useful contribution to what has already been discussed and raised at an official and ministerial level. A member of Parliament, by virtue of their office, cannot instruct a government department or a law enforcement agency It is rightly the responsibility of the Metropolitan Police as a professional law enforcement officers to investigate crimes. Now, this is what they do. It's like a game of tennis. Over the last 2 years, the amount of letters that I've had that say the same thing with regards to sentencing, when we've said all along it's the charge. But this is how they do it. Send you a letter, ignore you for another 6 months when you continue email them and email them. Yeah. But I have to read you this last sentence. This last paragraph. To add insult to injury, I would like to reiterate my profound sympathy for the tragic loss of Josh, Harry and George. I cannot begin to imagine the heartbreak caused by such a terrible tragedy. No, you'll never know or never imagine, but you don't mind in assisting in keeping that trauma going. And I do not believe there is a single person within any government, department or law enforcement agency who does not respect your determination to see justice served. So isn't that a bit contradictory for you to say, David Simmons, that you and everyone else, the police and everyone else, CPS, every government department, MPs, respect my determination to see justice is served? So you must then know justice haven't been deserved, David Simmons. Then he says, if I can ever be of assistance for any other matter. So not this matter about our voice. I've got a sore throat, Colin. Sorry. I've got a sore throat. So on any other matter. So he's not interested in this matter or the letter that went to the Attorney General with 4 points for a retrial. Not a change of sentence or sentencing. 4 points for a retrial. When did the government abandon the people? When did the government abandon us? Us working class, working people and poor. I don't believe in anything that's divisive. And personally, my own opinion here, and it's only my opinion, that I believe that any movement out there that is divisive and creates divides is controlled opposition. Because this is just about people. The only people that are creating hate are them. You know, the people online, the trolls, the government trolls and everyone who attacks me, you know, and calls me all sorts of names, you know, and that my campaign is a hate campaign. Why is that? Why is my campaign a hate campaign, but nobody else's is who has lost their children? Why is mine a hate campaign? Because people are listening. That's why. And they don't want you to listen to me because they know I speak the truth. They know I can't be corrupted. And they know that I truly stand for the people, the children and the country. And that's what they don't like. You know, the government are working against what's right. Murders have just seemed to be becoming the norm. And they see, I can't pronounce the Latin term. I can't pronounce it. I wish I could. But they see silence as consent, as being in agreement. As being in agreement. That's what they see, silence. Yeah. Now, just to say, a lady called Kaylee sent me this link. And it is regards to the 7 principles of public life. So if you're a public officer, then this is 7 principles that they are meant to stand by, people. And the 7 principles are selflessness. Holders of public office should act solely in terms of the public interest. Well, we know that's not true. With regards to us, anyone who asks under the freedom of information any information regarding our boys, they will tell you they've closed it down for 20 years because it's not in the public interest. But really what they mean is they don't want the public to know. That's what they mean. The other one is objectively. Holders of public office must act and take decisions impartially, fairly and on merit, using the best evidence and without discrimination or bias. Well, I tell you what, I've never met such discrimination in my lifetime from every government department that I have come across. We was treated with contempt. Our boys was treated with no dignity. And they treated us families like we were a hindrance because they didn't like us asking any questions. And the questions we did ask, they never answered. Accountability. Now, this is a massive one. Holders of public office are accountable to the public for decisions and actions and must submit themselves to the scrutiny necessary to ensure this. Now, there's never no accountability for what they do in public office from the MPs. No accountability. The police, no accountability. Social services, no accountability. The councils, no accountability. And what they do a lot of the time to make sure they don't get accountability is they move them on. That's what we've experienced in our case when we're doing our investigation. Oh, they don't work here no more. The amount of times we've experienced that. Openness. Holders of public office should act and take decisions in an open and transparent manner. Information should not be withheld from the public unless there are clear and lawful reasons for doing so. Another load of rubbish. Honesty. Holders of public office should be truthful. It's the complete opposite. Complete opposite. They're the most untruthful lot I've ever come across. I'm sorry to read that, Diane Bishop. And the last one, leadership. Holders of public office should exhibit these principles in their own behaviour. They should actively promote and robustly support the principles and be willing to challenge poor behaviour whenever it occurs. For further information on the 7 principles and the work of the Committee on Standards of Public Life, visit the committee's website. Now that is what public officers should be following, the 7 principles to public office and life. They follow none of them. None of them. It's not worth the paper it's written on. It's not worth it. So this as families is what we have to put up with. And Sally, it is. Sally has put, it's an illusion of freedom and democracy we live in. Absolutely. If you go and read the Human Rights Act, one of them states you're entitled to the freedom of thought. Doesn't say you're entitled to freedom. It tells you you're entitled to freedom of thought. So I wanted to let you know and give you an update so you knew what was going on. This year is going to be a big year in number 4. Number 4 is going to come out. Retrial reason for number 4. Each one on their own, a retrial. But you haven't heard number 4. And you will do sometime this year. I can't give you a date, but it's going to come. You know, they're making us all victims of their system. And all we are to them is a wage. They don't care about me. They don't care about you. And like I said, I don't like anything that is divisive in its means. Yeah, because that's how they've controlled us, by creating hate and dividing us. But the one thing that is divises is between the political class and the working class. Because they just see us as their human herd, their cattle. I've seen it in the court. There should only be one side as well, and it's the side of the oppression. And right now, when you go out on the streets, when you go to the courts and you see they're convicting people who have done no wrong and done no crime, it's oppression, and it's to silence you. And never be silent, because I will never be silent. Never. I won't be going anywhere. And that's what they don't like. I'm too strong for them. It runs through my veins. As soldiers in the war, you know, my granddad died for this country. For them. For them. Yeah? And their fake wars that we now know. Thousands of our soldiers, you know, they fought because they thought it was to give us our freedom and to make us safe. But no, we live in a dictatorship. Yeah, Brexit and I'm a leaver was all a distraction. It's New World Order, it's globalism. And I'm sorry to tell you that. And I know a lot of you know that. So, our government, our MPs and the police think it's okay to cover up children's murders. Our boys are not an isolated case. They haven't admitted to you that cars have been mounting pavements in this country and deliberately targeting people for over 7 years. They haven't admitted that to you. But that's what's going on. You've seen many online. You can tell by looking what is deliberate and what is not deliberate. You can tell. Yeah. Never surrender, people. We won't stop. I won't stop. You know, we need justice for Josh, Harry and George. We need to make sure the rest of the children are protected, the elderly, the veterans. Look what they're doing. Look what they're doing. No more, people. We can change this, but we have to demand it. We can take the power back. You have to just not fear. Don't let them make you fear. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it, your support and sharing. And on Saturday, I'll be out there with the Yellow Vest in London at Trafalgar Square at 11 o'clock. And I shall do a live. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Never surrender.